ComicsGate is a group of angry white men who dislike anything that doesn't represent them within the comic book industry. Or is it? Well, let's figure that out. We're going to look at a brief history of the group and decipher what they stand for. So, let's start at the beginning. ComicsGate really rose to prominence in about 2017, although you can trace its origins back to 2014 with the whole GamerGate thing. There's an article in the description below which talks about GamerGate if you want to know more. There has been a growing anger bubbling just beneath the surface within the comics fandom, and it boiled over because of one woman. A woman who had the cheek to post a photo of herself and some of her colleagues drinking milkshakes. I mean, can you believe it? I was shocked when I found that out too. Milkshake? Oh God, just makes me so angry thinking about that beverage. Of course, it wasn't the milkshake that was so enraging, it was the person holding the milkshake, as well as her other colleagues. The person in question is Heather Antos, who was an editor at Marvel Comics at the time. Her milkshake brought all the ComicsGaters to the yard. Anyway, the photo was taken shortly after the death of Flo Steinberg. A legend in the industry, Flo was an American comic publisher and was Stan Lee's secretary during the Silver Age of comics. But this was enough for a small group of fans to take a stand and tell the world who they were and what they stood for. Marvel had taken an initiative on diversifying their cast of characters for a while, and this group saw people like Antos as the reason for it. Changing the gender, age, and ethnicity of iconic characters such as Thor, Wolverine, and even the Hulk was not well received, and it was people like Heather who were taking these beloved characters away. So an increase in diversity of characters' identities, as well as an increase of the number of women achieving significant roles within the industry, seemed to be the catalyst, or at least the genesis, of this group's formation. But let's look at what they say about who they are and what they stand for. According to whatiscomicsgate.com, ComicsGate is an alliance of comic book fans, critics, and creators who have found a common cause in standing up against a hard push by social justice warriors into their hobby. They feel that comics have been corrupted or politicized, and the industry they love is dying because of it. They say that they do not represent a political ideology or identity, as there are plenty of conservatives and liberals who make up the group, as well as black, white, gay, straight, Christian, atheist, and, quote, everything under the sun. They believe comics are there for entertainment and not to spread a particular political or ideological message. You may find yourself nodding along to that description and may even want to join in, and if that's the case, then that's your choice. But I want to direct your attention to one of the most influential members of this group, because it will allow us to take the temperature of the kinds of people who take part in ComicsGate. Before I get into it, I'm in no way saying that this individual represents every person who affiliates themselves with ComicsGate, but because of the influence they have over the movement, then it's a good case study. So let's have a look at Ethan Van Sciver. Ethan was a former employee of both Marvel and DC before he felt that the direction these companies were headed were too detached from his own political beliefs. He left upon the expiration of his contract with DC and has since endeavoured to create and release his own comics IP with the use of crowdfunding. If ComicsGate were to have an official leader, it would likely be Ethan Van Sciver, as he promotes and hashtags the group to his near 50,000 followers on Twitter. How many followers do I have? 19. Nice. Ethan Van Sciver, or EVS as I'll be referring to from now on, is no stranger to controversy. Back in 2007, he released his sketchbook which he entitled My Struggle, a clear riff on Hitler's autobiography entitled Mein Kampf, which is German for My Struggle if that isn't clear. This caused significant backlash from fans and creators alike, with some calling for him to be fired from his job at DC. He wasn't fired, or cancelled by the way. His defense of it was that he was riffing on Sinestro from the Green Lantern universe, who has previously been described as, quote, Space Hitler. Clumsy and ill thought out jokes aside, this wouldn't be EVS's only controversial encounter online. In 2017, he had a public argument on Facebook with an individual where EVS instructed the person to, quote, kill themselves. EVS apologized for this, going as far as donating to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and vowing not to vent on social media again. This particular confrontation has followed EVS since, with many citing it as evidence towards his bullying behaviour. In the following years, EVS has since tried to diminish the impact of his, quote, kill yourself statement, explaining on Twitter that it was internet slang for, quote, go away. EVS has also taken another jibe publicly towards a person called Kieran Shiak, who was the assistant editor of comicsalliance.com. Schick had made a video requesting donations for a bus ticket, to which the controversial and ironic Twitter handle Diversity and Comics responded, asking, quote, "Can someone buy Kieran Schick a sandwich?" EVS was quick to respond to this, saying, quote, "That bitch can starve." It might seem that this is a personal attack on Ethan Van Sciver, and it's not intended as such. But because of his influence within ComicsGate, members of this group will attack people on his behalf. Indie comic creator Daryl Ayo was on the receiving end of these online attacks. Ayo criticised the claim that SJWs, or social justice warriors, were Nazis. EVS challenged Ayo to a debate on his YouTube channel, which Ayo refused. The refusal caused a backlash within ComicsGate, and Ayo was attacked online by its members for months. The last and most recent example of EVS's social media campaign to promote ComicsGate happened in July of this year. Responding to an article that makes the claim that ComicsGate, among others, are all just ploys to monetize racism, sexism, and inject right-wing thinking into pop culture, EVS created a thread rallying the troops. He stated that the writer, as well as the lefty SJWs, are part of a scheme to ensure that their social agenda is in every book, movie, and TV show and is forcibly enjoyed by you. He states that these articles are, quote, "literal threats to you, your faith, your family, and your existence," and refers to people like the author as, quote, "mentally ill." I hope now you can see why I'm focusing on this one particular individual, but this leads to a few key questions. Is he wrong? Is ComicsGate wrong in their quest to make comics great again? And is the comics industry dying from the poison caused by forced diversity and inclusion? Well, that's what we're looking at next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. I've been Brinkley, have fun drawing, and I'll see you next week.